Hello, I'm Scott Bogie here with one half of your PFL main event, Mitch McKee, ahead of his fight against Sergio Pettis. How are you doing today?
Great, how about you?
I'm doing good. And how are you feeling ahead of this fight?
I feel good. We're about a little over a week out. Feel ready to go. I feel like I put a good camp in, and you just gotta trust that you put a good camp in, and I do. So now it's just making sure my body's rested and feeling good for fight week, and then getting the weight down.
And how do you feel about signing with the PFL and not just making your debut in the main event, but facing the number one contender in the division?
I mean, I feel great. They had another opponent for me in the fall. Um, or it was supposed to be around this time as well, but they offered me someone else in the fall. Um, and then about a week later, I was just shopping in Walmart, and my manager called me and said, uh, Sergio Pettis' opponent pulled out. Sorry, would you like to fight him? And I said yes right away. But obviously, then I called my coaches, and we all agreed, that we should do it. Um, yeah, and then just so I've known about it since October, November, and just been dialing in, getting ready since then. So I've had a lot of time to prepare for it. And yeah, it's just I feel great that I knew that when I signed with PFL, they were going to give me opportunities. That's kind of why I signed with them, is they were going to feed me good opportunities, and they did right away. So I'm excited.
People can talk about the pressure, because obviously it's the main event. However, you're kind of used to this now. Your last fight was the main event of LFA. You've been the co-main event multiple times, main event multiple times. It's just the same show, just different organization for you.
Yeah, it's I always just think back to when right before you're about to walk out for a big fight like that. I just think back to all the wrestling matches I've had. I mean, I've probably wrestled 10,000 wrestling matches in my life from 4 years old to 24 years old. And I've wrestled on some big stages before. I mean, um, one time I wrestled in the middle of Times Square we did Team USA versus Team Iran.
Yeah.
And so I've had some pretty big pressure, and I've wrestled at the World Championships before. So I've had big pressure moments, for a long time. So I think just thinking back to those and just thinking about how many times you've been there and done it, and that just helps you settle into what's coming. And it's just I've been in those pressure moments before, so it doesn't affect me as much. I mean, it still affects you every time. You still feel the butterflies, but it's just how you use it and channel it to either a good loose performance, or you can be really tight and off your game.
And you're coming into the fight off the back of a fantastic knockout against Pedro Nobre. I remember you saying that that was just what you were needing to showcase your ability before going on to that next step. Is that what you still believe?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I know I can take anyone down.
Yeah.
Um, and I've really been working on my jiu-jitsu and ground and pound the last like 5, 6 months since that fight. Um, and before that fight, I was working on it too, but just really dialing that in. And then also, yeah, just dialing in on my feet. And then that was just a confidence boost of that I can stand with guys on the feet. Um, but it doesn't mean I'm going to always do that. I don't think that's always smart to do. If I can take a guy down and get a submission or ground and pound, I'm going to do that. But just having the ability to be able to strike is important, because if you can't get the takedown, then you're going to be a fish out of water. So yeah, and I think just we've really dialed in the last year or two, just getting my game to where I'm good pretty much anywhere, and I can take the fight to the ground if I want to. And if I can't get it to the ground, I can be good on the feet and use my fakes to open up the strikes. So just becoming a more well-rounded fighter has been kind of our focus the last year or two.
And was there anything about Pedro's like game plan going into that fight that kind of surprised you?
He definitely came to fight. he took the fight on short notice,
Yeah,
and
but 2 weeks.
um, and I mean, for me too, it was tough because from about 4 weeks out to 2 weeks out, I didn't even know if I was gonna have an opponent, and
Yeah,
the closer it got, I was like, the less and less I thought I was gonna end up getting someone. So it was like a weird like spot to be in for me, but then for him, he just came in, and for him it was no risk, all reward.
yeah.
I think he was able to just fight free, and he came to fight, and um, so yeah, and I used my wrestling a little bit. He caught me with a few punches. I think that just showed me that I can take a punch and keep fighting, and not that you want to take a punch, but yeah, it just was a good fight to get where the guy came to fight. He fought loose. He fought to win. He fought to take my head off, and I still prevailed with the knockout. So it was just a great fight for me to feel that, like feel someone that's because sometimes on the lower levels, like you can break guys pretty easy, especially with the grappling. So to feel a guy that's not going to break, not going to give up, because that's how it's going to be at the next level. Is no one's going to just hand you a win. You got to take it. So to feel that in that fight and take the win instead of people handing it to you it feels good.
And do you feel like they are the most difficult type of fights when you get that over 35 veteran in the cage who has nothing left, nothing to lose, who's just coming out there? It's high risk beating a guy like you, but the reward is a whole lot sweeter.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, like I said, it was tough for me mentally because I didn't know if I was gonna be fighting or not for
Yeah,
like 2 weeks, and it was like 4 weeks out to 2 weeks out. I didn't have an opponent, and we tried to get a couple different ones, and they said no, and then so after a few no's, and I'm like, I don't even know if this is gonna happen, and and then all of a sudden it's happening 2 weeks before, and so you have to readjust your whole mindset. And but yeah, it was good to, I mean, for him, like I said, he didn't have to go through a whole fight camp. He
yeah.
just said yes and showed up 2 weeks ready to fight, and sometimes that's easier than going through the whole camp and then having guys drop out and then trying to get new opponents, them saying no. Some of them I thought they were going to say yes, and then they said no. um, so yeah, it was definitely, it was just a good, like, it was a tough camp just because of all that stuff going on, and then to go and have the performance that I did just felt even sweeter. And because that's the fight game. Like, you're gonna have camps that aren't good,
Yeah.
but you still got to go perform. You're gonna have camps where you have injuries, where you are sick a bunch in camp, or this or that. There's always something. So you just have to roll with those punches and be able to push through that and still get to the cage and put on a performance.
And with your division currently in the PFL, it is absolutely stacked. You've got currently at number one, you have Pettis, you have Stotts at number two, Laplis at three, you've got Magomedov at number four, and then you've got guys who aren't even ranked yet, like the Rising Freeting champions just signed. You've got Sean Gatey, who's just coming off the Contender Series win. He's not ranked yet. How dangerous is your division just now?
I think, yeah, it's a very stacked division. If you look at like Dayron, the Cuban kid, he's like
Yeah,
ranked like 9, and he's a solid fighter, and he's the number 9 ranked guy. So I think everyone in the top 10 is pretty damn solid of a fighter. So it's a very tough division, and I love it. And just getting to fight someone that's the number one contender right away is pretty. That's why I said yes to the opportunity, because
yeah.
with that whole division, it's like it's so stacked that no matter who you fight, it's going to be a hard fight. So you might as well be fighting the number one contender. So I just love the position it puts me in. Getting a win next week, fighting for a title later this year, and then I guess we'll see who the opponent. Stotts fights on the same card as me, so we'll see how he does. And yeah, just looking forward to putting on a good performance and getting a W next weekend, and then seeing where that takes us.
And how has the last couple of months been? Because obviously you did fight in September, so it's kind of like a 6 month break for you. How has training been? I know you've welcomed your child into the equation? How has fatherhood been?
I mean, it's always, I'm used to, we've kind of always planned this, like with my boxing coach, like we always try to take um 5 months, 5, 6 months in between fights just
Yeah,
to spend time developing myself and working technical work, which is that's what I did. I don't spar too much outside of camp. So this camp, I just, instead of sparring twice a week, Tuesday, Thursday, I went to Herbert Burns's gym. He has a jiu-jitsu or just a MMA gym north of me, and went to his jiu-jitsu classes twice a week and just focused on getting good rolls in, and then focus on my boxing and just working all the technical stuff. Um, and that's what we do in between the big breaks. 5 months, 6 months. We just keep grinding, keep working on. It's not as demanding on your body, but you're still
yeah.
working the footwork, the technical work, the jiu-jitsu, the everything. So yeah, we've done that in the past where we take 5 months, and it's because that's just part of, like, you have to develop yourself in between every fight. And um, sometimes you see guys that just take fight after fight after fight, but you're not getting better because you're just constantly in fight camp. So, and in
Yeah.
fight camp, you're not really working on too much. You're more just getting in shape, getting dialed in. And so it's good to take those breaks sometimes where you're just focusing on technical work, letting your body, your nervous system get a little break. Because you see it all the time, like guys that fight too many times in a year and then they look terrible in the
Yeah.
like if they fight 4 or 5 times, that fourth or fifth fight, they look like not like themselves. It's because their nervous system is completely shot from fight camp after cutting weight after cutting weight after fight, and your body can only and your nervous system can only take so much of that. So it's good to deload your workload and just focus on technical work, and then ramp it back up and get back in the cage.
And how has the training been? Or like you said, you have been at the Herbert Burns gym. I've seen you've been having some sessions with Robbie Lawler. How has being able to get all that experience been?
Yeah, so my main gym is Killcliff, obviously, and that's where Robbie's the head coach,
Yeah,
and Dieter Navarro's my boxing coach. And now Herbert, since he's kind of done fighting now, he's been coming at pretty much every morning to our gym as well, at Killcliff as well. But like I said, I was going up to his gym, and then once I started sparring, then I just was sparring, not going up to his gym. But we still wrestle Wednesdays and Fridays and Monday mornings, and but just Robbie's the last year has been amazing. Robbie's kind of taken over and um, switched some stuff around, and we've really been just working on the nitty gritty and the little positions and really getting in there and focusing on what we like, all the little positions that people um, don't pay too much attention to that really make the difference in fights. A lot of it, being on the cage, like defending takedowns or getting your own takedowns, like especially being a wrestler, like you you can wrestle in the open with anybody, but sometimes, when you hit that cage and there's a wall there, it's a whole different sport. So just, getting that stuff dialed in, getting in the little positions, like it's been incredible. And I feel like, and we get a lot of our good work, in the mornings we do hit it a little harder. Um, and then at night is when we really get our technical work in. And yeah, that's been amazing. Like Robbie and Dieter are right there just watching me work and putting me through different drills or just different positions. And then we just, if I have questions or they see something, we work on it. And it's been amazing. I feel like I've grown so much just spending that time just working in all these little positions. We kind of just flow, grapple, and see where the positions take us. And then if we find something that, you know, we need to, if I have a question or they see something, we work on it, and feel like it's really helped me develop and grow.
and then we'll take it back a few years to when you were first coming through your training sessions. I think I remember it was one of the first training sessions that you're talking about when you were, I think it was a Marina, I think it was, gave you a up kick and it's just stunned you. How good is it looking at that progress, just seeing how far you have come from that time?
Oh yeah, I mean it's crazy because it's so slow and day to day that you don't
Yeah,
realize it until it's like until it's because that first like year I would say it's just a lot of work with not seeing a ton of progress because you're just trying to get the basics down because I didn't know anything about jiu-jitsu or
yeah,
striking really, and I came down here on like a Saturday in July of 2021, and we had at that time we used to do kickboxing sparring on Tuesdays and MMA sparring on Thursdays. So I showed up to Tuesday kickboxing sparring and just Marina kicked me in the face, and I didn't know how to throw a punch, how to block a punch, how to anything. But yeah, just seeing the progress now looking back, um, what's it been? Almost coming up on 5 years. It's been pretty incredible. And like I said, that first like year to 2 years is just learning the basics of everything, and then the last couple of years have been putting all that together. You kind of have to. There's so many aspects of MMA, like boxing, kickboxing, jiu-jitsu, wrestling, um, that um, there's so many aspects of the sport that it takes time to just learn each one individually, and then but then you can't be just it can't be choppy. So you got to be able to
yeah.
put it all together and flow between all the different facets of the sport. So that's when it really gets fun is when you start putting everything together. So yeah, the first couple of years is definitely a grind, and that's the hardest part. And then yeah, and then after that, it's just putting everything together, doing what I said. We've been doing in the room, just flowing through positions, working on the little nitty gritty positions. Then it's a lot of fun.
And how much do you feel like coming into this with that wrestling base, if you're going in there, three-time champ, how good do you feel like that has been for your just being a start, having that base?
Yeah, I think wrestling, is the most important base for MMA. Just having that ability to take the fight to the ground whenever you
Yeah,
want. Um, so that's very important. And I think, looking back, I wish I would have worked on jiu-jitsu and boxing when I was younger as well. Even though I was doing high school and collegiate wrestling, I still wish I would have, but I didn't think I was going to do MMA until I was 24. So, um, but yeah, just having that wrestling base and then everything else you can pick up from there, and then just putting everything together is very important. Obviously you can't just be diving in on wrestling shots. You got to be able to strike to your shots or take a shot. The shot gets stuffed coming up to strikes, dropping back underneath. And then from there, you don't just take guys down and hold them down, inflicting damage on top, getting to submissions. Um, so yeah, I think the wrestling base is super important. And then just doing wrestling for 20 years, it just develops a mindset that you have that, um, I've been in so many hard wrestling matches and so many times in wrestling matches where I've been down and out and I pulled out the win.
yeah.
And just having those experiences in a one-on-one sport like that, being able to pull from those when you're going into the cage is super important.
And obviously, one of the benefits of being able to fight for PFL is not only do they travel across states, but they do have their international events. They've just been to Madrid. They're going to Brussels. They've been. Is there any international event that they've either gone to or you're looking to expand to that you're wanting to get on?
I definitely would love to fight on an international event. I haven't. I've wrestled outside the country, but I've never fought outside the country.
Yeah,
But yeah, I would love that. I know they've hinted at talking with Ryzen and trying to figure
yeah,
some kind of collaboration out. So I'd love to go fight in Japan. That would be awesome. I was actually um, before I signed with PFL, we were talking with Ryzen a little bit. Um, so it definitely intrigued me to go fight in Tokyo. I didn't necessarily want to sign or I didn't love the idea of constantly fighting in Tokyo, or in Japan, where I have to fly over there every single fight. But if it was like a one-time thing, I would absolutely love that, and it'd be fun to bring my wife or my kids and have a good experience. I've never been there, so and we have a few Japanese guys in our gym. One of the guys, Suzuki, he's a 125 pounder who's like 7-1 right now, and he's a freaking beast. But he I've been training with him like every day, and so I've told him I want to go back to Japan with him sometime, so maybe we could get a fight out there and then we both go back. But yeah, it'd be. I mean, I would love to fight anywhere. I love traveling. I love seeing new places. Even when I wrestled overseas, I would always stay for like another week and travel around. So, my brother's wedding is in Italy in May, so I'm going out to Florence. I just love my brother and his fiance love traveling too, and I love it too. I mean, it's been harder now the last however with fighting and two kids and all that, but it would make it easy if it was for a event for fighting. So I would love it.
Exactly. And how do you kind of like rate all the divisions in PFL? Because starting to kind of look like they are now starting to bring in the talent from just not only just LFA with you, Ryzen, it just get into the former Cage Warriors champion in Europe. It looks like they are now starting to have that roster of talent all over the place.
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting time in MMA right now. Because you see things like that Dana's saying like doesn't he's not really giving the
Yeah,
fans much love lately, and that's you do that over a long enough period of time, it's gonna turn people away from the UFC, and at the same time, the PFL's rebranding, trying to build. They're really taking care of their fighters. They, when the reason one of the reasons I signed with them was because they actually, you know, I wasn't just going to be another guy on the roster. They
yeah.
actually wanted to invest time and money into me and really grow me and give me opportunities like they are next week. Um, and I think you're starting to see that, like you said, they're starting to get more talent just coming out of the regional scenes across the country or the world. And yeah, you don't see, obviously early on it would be like guys fought in the UFC and now they're coming to PFL afterwards. Now you're seeing the young prospects actually just signing with PFL
Yeah.
straight out of the gate. So I think if they have an opportunity over the next, you know, couple years to 5 years to really take a big market share away from the UFC. And I mean, if you watched their Pittsburgh card last weekend, it was a freaking unbelievable
Yeah.
card with high level fights, high level production. Same with the card in Spain. So it's like they're putting on amazing cards. It's high production. The fights are just high level fights. Um, so I think you do that over a big enough period of time, and you know, John Martin's talked about them adding some other different promotional things that they're going to try to be implementing over the next year. So I think they have a big opportunity to really steal some market share from the UFC, and that's what I think guys see. The prospects see that, they see what it's building into, and um, just kind of see the opportunities that can come from that over the next 3 to 5 years.
And how do you find having also they've got these regular fights that are doing you and Pettis, but how do you feel about also potentially having that inclusion of the tournament throughout the year as well?
I think the tournament's just hard and they realize that
Yeah,
it's just hard to follow as a fan because it's different if you're fighting like you know three fights in a night, or if
yeah,
you're fighting. Oh, it's gonna be a really loud train coming by. My bad. Um, so it's different if you're fighting like three, like they used to do back in the day in like Brazil and stuff. Like if you're going bang, 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 it's easy to follow as a fan because all three fights are happening. But when the fights are spread out over months and months and months, people forget about the tournament. And then they don't necessarily have that emotional investment to tune into the next round. Um, so I think it's just hard in MMA unless you're doing, like back to back to back weekends or or three in one night or whatever.
yeah.
It's hard to keep fans engaged over a long period of time. Um, One thing that it's funny, I've joked around about this with my wife, is how it would be kind of cool to see uh, uh, like a American football or soccer or whatever style of MMA where you have like the fight teams like Kill Cliff, American Top Team, and then you all, you know, say you have a team with a certain
Yeah,
roster and you fight different teams around the country or world. They say they have events once a month where it's Killcliff versus American Top Team, and then Killcliff fights American Kickboxing Academy the next month, and then you have obviously you have 2-3 guys deep at each weight class, so that obvious. I mean, if your guy at 35 goes and gets a knockout in the first round of the one event, he could fight the next month event.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you have guys deeper. I've thought about all that ever since the tournament stuff and all that, like the talks of everything. It would be kind of cool to see that kind of style. It'd be hard to implement because you'd have to really build up each of the fight teams and invest money into each fight team to build them up. But it would be, I mean, maybe we'll see in who knows in a decade or two if something like that could happen. But no, I'm just really excited about PFL's rebranding and what they're going to be doing with fighters and really trying to build all of us up. And they're going to take the promotional stuff seriously. And I'm excited.
And we cannot wait to see you on that card and get that stoppage over Pettis and fight for that belt later on this year. Is there anything you want to add or anyone you want to shout out?
Just shout out to all my. It's in Chicago, so I'm from Minnesota. I'm from Minneapolis, which is about 6 hours away. So there's gonna be a lot of fans driving to come watch me. I already have so many that have texted me and messaged me. So I'm excited for the fans to be there, and shout out to them for making the trip. And yeah, just everyone tune in April 11th. It's gonna be an amazing card, and it's gonna be topped off by an amazing main event.
We can't wait to see it in action. It's going to be a fight you guys definitely do not want to miss. So make sure you tune in, and we can't wait to see you get that victory. Thank you for coming on.